Welcome to the Schools of Excellence podcast, a place for insightful conversations about building sustainable schools of excellence. Join me each week as we explore the importance of leading with your values, creating impact, and leaving a lasting legacy. My goal on the show is to provide you with clarity, elevate your mindset, and equip you with practical strategies and inspiration. I'm Chanie Wilschanski, a proud mother of four, a former New Yorker, now savoring sunny Florida vibes. With a professional journey spanning 18 years across all levels of school leadership, I bring nuanced insight that delve into the intricate details of running a center, as well as the broader visionary aspects of leadership. Thank you for joining me for this conversation. Let's build a legacy of excellence together. Hello there. I am so excited about today's conversation, which is all about how to increase enrollment this month. So a lot of you who are listening to this podcast, you might find yourself in two camps right now. Either you're in a season where you guys are doing amazing with enrollment. You have a waiting list, maybe you've increased tuition again, you're kind of not really stressing over enrollment. And some of you are finding yourself in a season where you are struggling with enrollment. Maybe parent retention has dipped. Maybe you're having a mass exodus of children and you're trying to really figure out how to bring your numbers up. Or you're in a season where you have just recently done an acquisition or a merging, or you opened up 2 classrooms and you're trying to really fill spots, or you did a big hiring spree. And now you want to get those classrooms at fuller capacity to level up your profit margin. There's a bunch of different reasons why you might really be focused on increasing enrollment. So today's conversation is really about increasing enrollment this month. So whenever we're looking at strategy and strategic planning, there's 2 buckets that we're always looking at. What is the short-term plan? And what is the long-term plan? And a lot of times when we look at developing a retention strategy for parents, or we look at developing our staff retention, or we look at increasing our enrollment, sometimes we only look at the long-term game and we're not looking at what is the immediate short-term. And then sometimes when we look at culture or brand identity, or other like bigger picture things, sometimes we only look at the immediate urgency and we forget about the bigger picture. So this is part of the discernment of being a leader, is understanding how to play in both camps, the short term and the long term. So today's conversation is short term. It is short term, how to increase enrollment by the end of 30 days. And it's important to understand the actual definition of short term versus long term. Long-term marketing strategies to increase enrollment are about building foundational work. For example, launching Facebook ads or Google ads or any kind of advertising is a long-term strategy. Here's why. It will take several weeks until you can actually see results from ads, especially if you've never run ads before, if you've never had proper advertising. It will take weeks for them to actually develop the right video and pictures and pixels and messaging and copy and get the ads running. And you'll be spending a lot of money in the beginning until they figure out how to get your cost per lead down. Like, it is a process to get ads functioning and getting you the right quality leads into the door. Building a website is a 2 to 3 month process. Even if you can get that website up and running within 3 to 4 weeks, it takes time to start driving traffic to that website to actually get eyeballs and visibility on there. So understand that marketing is all about a visibility game, right? When anyone is doing marketing and trying to get the market to see your offer, it's a simple game of visibility. Your business is not visible enough to your ideal market. So there's the short term, there's the long-term visibility game, and then there's the short-term visibility game. We're going to play in this episode today how to play short-term visibility so that by the end of the month, you actually have parents in the door, right? Not by the end of the month, you have a strategy, you have a game plan. No, by the end of the month, you actually have parents in the door. So I'm going to share 3 strategies of how you can actually do that. Okay. Number 1 is hosting an open house. Now, you might hear this and be like, I've done open houses. I'm going to tell you a completely different perspective of how to host an open house. Actually, the 3 ideas that I'm going to share, you may have done them already, or if you've heard them, so, it's not rocket science, but I'm going to share a unique perspective of how you actually leverage it into a short-term strategy to get kids in the door by the end of the month. So when you're going to host an open house, not only are you going to make a announcement on your social channel, which you should, but what you have to remember is the people on your social channels or the people that you're advertising to are people who already know you. They follow you already, which means you're already visible to them. When you are trying to market, you are going to try to market and be visible to people who do not know you or who have not been in your world yet, right? So when you are hosting an open house and you want to get new prospects in the door, you're going to personally call 10 to 15 of your trusted families and tell them, we are running an open house. Can you please invite 2 or 3 of your friends to come join this open house? Here is what we're going to be doing at this open house. When you are trying to bring prospects into the door, right, families, you want to think about what is going to attract people who have young children in childcare to come on a Sunday or a Monday or whatever day you decide to do it, to bring their kids and themselves to this experience, okay? Or maybe you decide it's just for parents, whatever you decide, right? Some people make open houses for the parents only. They do like an evening's night out. Some people like to create an open house concept where the kids get to come also, and the kids get into the building and they have all this kind of stuff. You have to decide what makes sense for you, okay? Now, another component when it comes to an open house is make an irresistible offer. Romanticize the offer so parents are actually like, I've got to be there. I really need to be there. What do parents need in the beginning of the school year? Every single parent is looking for some strategies on routine and structure. The kids have just had 2 months of no structure. And even if they went to day camp, it's always less structured in the summer. Kids go to bed later, they wake up later, the lunches, the snacks, the morning routine, parents have a different summer schedule. Like, things are just different in the summer. So in the start of the school year, all the parents are seeking new structure and routines, or the re-inviting of the structure and routines that they had previously in the previous school year. So a great idea is you can bring a parent or an expert to come and talk about morning routines, back to school morning routines. Or another big thing that parents struggle with in the beginning of the school year is sleep with their kids, sleeping schedules. You can bring a sleep specialist or a veteran parent to talk about sleeping schedules for preschoolers at the start of the school year. When I'm a parent and I have 2 or 3 young kids and there's an open house and my friend is going and there's going to be some snacks and I'm going to get to hear from a sleep specialist or someone who's going to talk about sleeping schedules, I'm in. I want to go there. It's valuable. It's worth it for me to actually make my hair, put clothing on, get shoes on, get in the car and drive there, right? It's worth it for me. You have to understand also, like, all the other implications of what it takes to show up to an open house, right? When you are a parent of a lot of young kids, trying to get kids out the door, like, it has got to be so freaking worth it for me to get out there, or I'm just going to stay home. It is just so much easier just to stay home and let the kids hang out in pajamas. I hang out in pajamas. Everyone does their thing. Like, why should I get up and go out? Give them a reason to get up and go out, right? Okay, next thing. Make a small food budget. You're not going over the top. Remember, we're trying to attract people in to increase enrollment and increase our cash flow. So we're not going to overspend on food. We're going to take some messy, imperfect action. Now, once you have the open house, you have to understand how to work the room. It's not enough that everyone came to your event. Now you have to understand how to sell at the event. Right? So it's not selling like a used car salesman of like, hey, you have a 2-year-old. Would you like a spot in our 2-year-old class? No, that is not what we do. We do relationship building. We do service-based selling. You have to make sure that you are working the room, which means you need support structure at the open house, because your job as the school leader, you have one job: make eye contact and say hello to every single grown-up at that event. I'm going to say that again. You have one job and one job only at the open house. Make eye contact and say hello to every single parent. Okay. Now, other people at the event are going to have other jobs, which is relationship building, making connections, and getting people's contact information. What you have to remember about any sales cycle is some people are going to come to the open house, but they're not going to join at the open house. They want to think about it. They want to rest on it. They want whatever it is. That's where nurturing comes in, right? That's why you need people's contact information so you can nurture the lead, right? You can follow up with the person 2-3 weeks after. You can support them or send them resources. And eventually, if you're the right fit, they will come to you. But you cannot just open an event and then pray to God and say, I hope everyone here signs up. You got to do your part, which is work the room. So all of the teachers or whoever support structure you're going to be, you have to train them. What does it mean to work the room? How do you create connections with people, right? Well, the first thing is they have to have good social skills, right? When a parent walks in, it's like, hi, what's your name? Welcome to, whatever ABC preschool, right? Your name is Ted. Ted, so great to see you. I see that you work in construction, right? So many times people will come in their work clothes, in their whatever it is, right? I had this before. That's why I'm giving this example. Ted, so great to see you. I see you work in construction. Can I ask you where you work? Oh, I have this company. I work a couple miles from here. That's really fascinating. We actually have a dad, Sam, who also works in construction. He works in Midtown. Would you like to, let me introduce the two of you, okay? So now I'm bringing Ted in and I'm introducing him to a dad who's already in the school and I'm making a connection, okay? Remember, people like to connect with people who are in a similar season of life than them, right? So dads like to connect with other dads that have careers that are also dads, right? Let's connect the two of them. Moms like to do the same thing, right? Learn how to create connections, bring people into the room, not just like, oh, come in. Would you like to check out, the food? No, I have food in my house. Like, come in and bring them and connect with other people in the room. That's how you create relationships, right? Relationships. Make sure you're getting everyone's contact information, right? Every grown-up in that room, right, who's part of your team, every single part of the team, they have to have a tracking system in their mind, making sure that they are connecting with at least 10 people. They have to have targets, right? So I need to make sure that I have a conversation with at least 10 people and get 10 people's contact information, right? Now, again, it's not just like, hey, can I have your phone number? No, it's or you could just have it organically, right? Where I did this once when I ran an open house. When you came in, you signed up your name, your phone number, and your email address, and it went into a raffle, and then we raffled something off. This was right in the beginning when the iPhone came out. We raffled off a free iPhone. It was really exciting. One year we did an iPad. Again, this was back in the day when like an iPhone and an iPad was like, oh my gosh. That's not an oh my gosh now, okay? So figure out what your parents would appreciate if it was raffled off. And then part of joining the raffle is they fill out their name, their phone number, and their email address. And now you have their contact information. Now, if you don't want to do that, that's fine. There's other ways to get people's contact information, right? Like you can have a conversation with someone and you're talking to them about a resource. Again, you are a source of valuable information. And then you could say, you know what? I actually recently read an amazing article on sleep routines for children. Let me take your information. I'll send it to you. Now, here's the thing that you need to understand when it comes to this type of conversation, because I do this all the time. Whenever I'm at events or, when I used to run schools, because I'm constantly consuming great content that is relevant to my audience, right? So when I was a director to parents or as a leader now to school leadership, right? When I'm having a conversation with a parent and they're talking about, oh, Sam was up all night, right? And I tell them, I actually have a great article about sleep or whatever it is. I might not know exactly which article I'm referencing, but I do know that I have read articles on sleep. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell the parent, I'm going to send you a great article. Okay. I get their contact information and then I do my homework. I come home that night, right? And I go into my archives like, where was that article that I saw on sleeping, right? And I research it, find the right article, reread it, right? Make sure it's actually relevant and then send it to the parent. right? Boom. Now I'm a value add. Now I'm a resource and a connection point to this family. Now, a lot of you are listening to this and like, this is so much work. This is so much time, blah. Yeah, it is. It's work, it's time, it's effort, and it pays off. Every single time it pays off, right? Ads do not always convert. Your website is going to take time until it attracts families. Literally sitting eye to eye, nose to nose, toes to toes with a person who physically has a child in your like 4 feet. Is that not like the hottest lead you could possibly get? It's the warmest, hottest lead ever. Do not let that slip through your fingers. Learn the social skill to actually convert that parent. Okay. A huge part of what we do in Schools of Excellence, in our coaching calls, in our training sessions, in our group sessions, is actually understanding how to train your staff and mentor your staff how to do these things, because it's so critical for them to know how to do this, your leadership team and yourself. Okay, let's go to the second strategy of how you can increase enrollment this month. Parent roundtables. So you want to get referrals, right? Referrals are one of the fastest, best ways to get families in the door because they're coming from a trusted source. People buy from trusted sources, especially when it's a high ticket item. So when I'm buying seltzer, I don't need a referral of where to get seltzer from. It's like $5. I don't need a referral. Okay. When I'm going to buy milk, I don't need a referral. Where's the best place to buy milk or whatever? Okay. It's a common staple house item. It's not something that requires a lot of thinking. Milk, family needs, go buy. When you are purchasing a high ticket item like childcare, okay, and it's not just a high ticket item, it's actually something that is going to mold the mind of your child. Your child's teacher feeds your child's brain for 8-9 hours a day, however many hours your child's in that school. Literally feeds your child's mind. The values of that teacher, her mindset, her nervous system, her calming info, like all of who she is and he is, literally is being fed to your child in that classroom. So you better believe that parents are going to be unbelievably discerning about where they send their child, because this teacher and this school leader is going to have one of the biggest influences on my kid. They are feeding their brains, literally spending hours and hours with them every single day. So people want to invest and make a buying decision like childcare with referrals, with people who they know, like, and trust, right? Mayor and I are sending our son, Mendel, he's 14, out of town for high school. Is going to an out of town high school in Cincinnati. And so when we were looking at the different schools and where we wanted to send our kid, obviously we were looking a lot of the values, the standards, the rules of the school, the infrastructure, all of that. But the bottom line is it came down to the referral. We spoke to 3 other families who sent their kids there. 2 of them actually still have children there because it's a 3-year program. And we asked the families, tell us about the experience. Is your child happy? Are you seeing the results? What is the product, right? What is the end product of a child who goes there? So after 3 years of being in that center, right, in that school structure, what is the end result of that child? Right? What skills do your child learn? What mindset do they have? What's their belief structure? What's their value structure? What's their maturity level? What's their emotional maturity level? Their leadership, their all the things, academic skills, right? All the things that we're looking for when we're choosing a high school for our child. So the same thing is in preschool. People are going to have conversations. What's the end product of someone who comes to the school when they graduate and they go on to public school or elementary private school or whatever it is? What's the end product of a child who goes to this childcare, to this preschool? So referrals are huge. Okay, well, how do we make sure we leverage referrals? Again, hope is not a strategy. We don't just hope that we're going to get referrals. We actually work the strategy. So I'm going to walk you through how to work a referral strategy. You're going to bring your top 10 to 15 parents for a working roundtable. And it's called a working roundtable because you're not just coming to make an ask, you are going to do a co-working session with them. So you're going to bring them into the room and you're going to say, we would like to enroll 10 new families into the school within the next 3 weeks. And so we've invited all of you to come here to the table for a working session to find 10 new families that can enroll here in the center. So we're going to start off today's session by everyone opening up their phones, and you have a piece of paper next to you, and you're going to run through your Rolodex. You can also open up your social feeds and write down at least 25 to 50 people who have children childcare age that live within an X mile radius of the center. So they're going to start to write down people, right? Now, here's the thing. Off the top of most people's heads are going to be like, I don't know anyone. The moment they start to go through the phone, oh, Catherine has a daughter. Oh my gosh, Samantha lives next door. She told me her sister's moving to town in a couple weeks. Let me message her, right? The brain starts to operate, right? We act our way to new thinking. We act our way to new thinking. So you literally have a working session. You put on a timer. We're going to do 25 minutes of mining your list. Okay. It's quiet. You might put some music on in the background. It's 25 minutes of working the list. So everyone's looking at their phones. They are looking at their social accounts. Wherever there is, like they might go to their local community Facebook boards. They're going to their mommy chat rooms. They're going, whatever they're doing, their WhatsApp groups. It's 20 minutes of mining the list. Okay. At the end of 20 minutes, everyone's got a list of people who are potential prospects for childcare. Okay. So then you're going to say, all right, now from this list, I want you to highlight 5 to 10 people who you can message right now. So it's not message right now and sell them. It's, can you message them like, hey, so I was just thinking about you today, or whatever it is, right? Starting a conversation. Or some people are like, you know what? I could actually totally tell her she should come for a tour, right? Different people are going to be at different points of the buying cycle. And then you're going to say, great. Message her, would you like a script for what to say? And you're going to have templates ready. Templates for early stages of the buying cycle, right? Top of the funnel, versus templates of like the lower stage of the buying cycle, like right when they're ready, which is like, hey, you can come book a tour. You need to have those templates ready. We have those templates inside of Schools of Excellence. We train our people how to do this. Like, it's actually understanding how to do proper social selling. So you're going to give them those templates, literally copy and paste and send it. And then you're going to do another 15 minutes working session where people are sending outbound messages. So it's outbound messaging time. Okay. Now, most of the people in the room are going to be sending outbound messages of simply, I'm just thinking of you. I thought of you today. I listened to this really great podcast. Would love to send it to you. I saw your sister Sarah at yoga yesterday and I was thinking of you. Just wanted to say hi, right? That's the first stage of the buying cycle. Now you're going to leave the parents with actual tools because again, you want them to work and get referrals for you. You can't just tell people go to work. Okay, well, what am I supposed to do when I go to work, right? It's literally like hiring your teacher and say, okay, you're at work, go to work. Okay, which classroom do you want me to go to? What do I do inside? What are my expectations? You want parents to get you referrals. You have to teach them how to get you referrals. So you're going to leave them with some simple templates of like, okay, after this initial phase, here's the next resource you could send them. Here's something else you could say. And you give them the actual scripts and you teach them how to create those connections until the parent is ready for a tour. Okay. Now, that's the working session time. The second component after you do this working session is you're going to do a one-on-one with each of these families, whether in person or over the phone, and you're going to ask them what they want as an incentive structure. So you might say something like, okay, our incentive structure is we give $1,000 bonus to families if a referral comes in. Okay, well, different families want $1,000 in different ways. One family might say, you know what? If we enroll a family, we would love $1,000 cash. Someone else might say, I actually want it to go towards tuition. Someone else might say, I want it to go towards waiving the registration fee. Whatever. Every parent values something else. Every parent needs something else. Do not do generic incentives. I know it's easier for you, but guess what? You want people to do things for you. You have to figure out how to make it easier for them, not for you, for them. Okay. So you're going to create personalized incentive structures. I'm telling you, this works. I have done this for years when I worked in childcare. It works every single time if you follow it right. Okay. The last strategy of how to increase enrollment by the end of this month is local business drop-in. So I'm not talking about your generalized marketing strategy of advertising with local businesses. That is a long-term game. You should always be advertising with local businesses. You should be partnering with local businesses. That's part of a long-term strategy. And if you want a long-term strategy of how to do that, we teach that in our parent retention system inside of our Schools of Excellence membership. Now, I'm talking by local business drop-in is actually getting dressed and going to the places. Go to the yoga spot, go to the mommy me place, go to the gym, go to the apartment building. So again, I ran schools in New York City. I worked in New York City. I consulted schools in New York City for years. again, I'm going to give you an example. Now, part of emotional maturity is listening to example and understanding how to pull apart the pieces that make sense for you, right? An immature person listens to an example and it's like, well, I don't live in the city, so I can't do that. Well, I can't do that. No. Emotional maturity is listening to a story, listening to an example and saying, what can I do from that makes sense for my city where I live? Okay, so I'm going to share a story. And again, you're an emotionally mature leader, so you're going to extrapolate what makes sense for you. So when I worked in the city, part of living in New York City is there are apartment buildings. In an apartment building, on average, you'll have anywhere between 300 to 500 families who have young children. Again, depending on where you live in the city. So if you live in Tribeca or Chelsea or the Upper West Side or the Upper East Side, the Lower East Side, the different parts, the different pockets, right? In the village is a little bit differently. Not everyone in the village has a lot of young kids. It really depends on which pockets of the city you live in. But if you live in a part of the city where a lot of young families live, you will have that many families in one apartment building. Okay? Now, a lot of people that live in apartment buildings, especially in the city, they live in bougie apartment buildings, which means these apartment buildings have spas and maintenance and these gyms and classes and boardrooms and conference rooms and all of these things. So I would go into these apartment buildings and I would say, okay, I know that you guys run monthly workshops for the residents of the building. When is your next workshop that is for young families, for parents, right? And they'll look at their schedule, be like, oh, we actually have this specialist that's coming that's going to do X, Y, and Z, this expert. Great. I would love to get on the schedule. I am a director at this in this school. This is what I would love to do. I know a lot of families right now are working on morning routines. We're about to start the school year. I would love to do a workshop. Can we do a pop-up workshop? Now, again, you might have to go to a higher decision maker, right? Usually the person at the front desk or whatever it is doesn't really have authority. No problem. Ask for the contact information, the person who makes those decisions. Call up the person who makes those decisions. Get a spot at the table and run a great quality workshop, right? You'll be surprised how many families will come in. Even if you have 5 parents show up. Okay, 5 parents who didn't know about your school, or 5 parents who knew about your school, but now they actually meet the director of the school, right? And you're personable and you're professional and you're kind and empathetic and magnetic, all the things that you need to be when you're trying to sell your product. Okay, when I would run those things, I would convert typically 75% of the room. So if there were 5 families there, 3 families would register, right? 2 of the families would register on the spot. One person, because 2 families, this was really interesting. 2 families actually had already done tours 2 years prior, but they couldn't afford the tuition. It didn't make sense for them. Now they're in a different season. This dad got a new job and he was like, we're actually looking for childcare. We're not so happy with our nanny. We're thinking of sending the child. And they signed up on the spot. They're like, I remember your school. I remember you. We had a great experience. Let's do it. I want to sign up, right? And I would have on the spot bonuses, right? If you sign up today, if you sign up in the next 24 hours, we waive the registration fee. Like, learn how to be a great seller of your product. You have to know how to sell your product, right? So this is what I mean by local business drop. And think about, how can I do something like that, right? Going to the yoga places, go sign up for the yoga class, go sign up for a yoga class and hang out and do yoga with 30 other moms in the yoga building. Okay. And you'll get to eavesdrop. For those of you that are listening and not watching the video portion, I'm literally pointing to my ears. Learn how to ethically eavesdrop, okay? Ethically eavesdrop. Here's what we do here. I'm creating a new word, ethical eavesdropping. You're sitting down and you're just listening. You're being an observer. You're listening. What are the parents talking about? What are they worried about? What are they concerned? What are their fears? What is coming up in conversation? And then you take that data, and it's not just like, oh, that was really interesting to hear. No, you take that data and you bring it to the marketing team as part of the long-term strategy. Here's how we can market to the audience. This is the messaging. This is what the parents are seeking. Here's how we can build this into our strategy, right? Learn how to be a smart, discerning observer as a leader when you are trying to sell your product. Now, you could be listening to I'm not in charge of enrollment. I'm not in charge of this. That needs to stop. It's not, I'm not in charge of it. That's not my job description. That's not in my lane. If you are in a school right now that is struggling with enrollment, you do not have the privilege of saying, that's not my job. You just don't. Because guess what? If the school doesn't pick up their enrollment, you don't have a job. So it is your job. It's everyone's job. And everyone plays a different part, whether directly or indirectly in enrollment. Okay. So you're actually going to get into these places and be visible. One of the stories I always like to talk about is Sarah Blakely. So for those of you that don't know who Sarah Blakely is, she's the founder of Spanx. It's $1 billion industry. Now, when Sarah first started the business, she got her first deal at Nordstrom, where she was able to sell, I forgot how many hundreds or whatever product. She didn't just say, great, I got a deal in Nordstrom. They're going to sell, Spanx and I'm going to be a millionaire. No, she went to Nordstrom in that location where they said they were going to sell her product, and she sold her product in Nordstrom. She stood by the booth that they gave her, that area, and she literally sold people at the place. She was like, come, you got to check this out, right? She would, and if those of you have seen her on social, she's hilarious. She's so warm. She's magnetic. She's funny. She has a story where she literally took a woman into the bathroom. She's like, come, let me show you my underwear. Let me show you what this actually looks like when you're wearing white pants. Okay. Now, I'm not telling you to bring people into the bathroom and show them your underwear, but this is what Sarah did to actually sell her product. And now it's $1 billion industry. Now, you do not need to have ambitions to build your center to $1 billion school. That's not what this is about. Again, emotional maturity, extrapolate what makes sense for you. Do you need to hustle a little bit and try to figure out, how do I actually sell this product versus just wishing and hoping that it will sell, that I will get the enrollment? So those are my top 3 strategies. I really hope that you take a couple of great ideas from here and actually put them into action, right? Go to your calendar, look at what you're committed to, and say, 1 second. Some of these projects have to pause because we have to get our enrollment up. So you're going to tell your leadership team, we're not working on this. This is the plan. This is the battle plan. Everyone needs to take a part of it. We're going to meet again in 48 hours and we're going to talk about what you've actually got going so that we continue to work this. This is how you actually increase enrollment. This is how you actually do it. You create the plan, you come back to the team, you clear their decks and their calendars, you give them this project, and you get rolling. And then you're going to see cash flow increase, profit increase, and your enrollment increase. Thanks for joining me. If you are loving the Schools of Excellence podcast and have gotten any value out of it for your school, I would love if you can do 2 things for me. 1, subscribe to the show so you never miss an episode. And 2, can you please leave us a review? Reviews help other school leaders know that this is the place to learn how to build a school of excellence. And I would be so grateful if you can do that for us. Your help and support makes this show to be able to be listened by the thousands of other school leaders all around the world. Thanks so much for listening, for giving us your time and attention each and every week, and I appreciate that you have joined us.